Chapter 21. Nasara arrive at the capital city, Part 1. Nasara nods stiffly, lowering her gaze to the ground. I understand, Master. I wouldn't dare to disobey. Perfect, Alex says, his tone calm but with an edge of authority. He turns on his heel, his coat swaying as he strides toward the cave entrance. Get to work. When I return, I expect progress. Alex gives her one last lingering look, as if testing her resolve, before turning on his heel and striding out of the cavern. The sound of his footsteps fades into the distance, leaving Nasara alone with her thoughts and her spider minions. Once she's certain he's gone, Nasara lets out a low hiss, her claws digging into the ground. That's nonsense, she mutters under her breath. How can his subordinates be stronger than me? I've ruled these caves for decades. No one has ever bested me. Until him. She clicks her mandibles in irritation and glances at her spider minions, already busy chiseling away at the mineral veins. Faster! She barks, her frustration evident. We need results before his so-called soldiers arrive. The spider monsters scurry into action, their pickaxe limbs striking the mineral veins with practiced precision. The cavern fills with the rhythmic clinking of metal against stone as Nasara watches, her mind racing. She's not used to taking orders, and the thought of being reduced to a mere minor grates on her. But the memory of Alex's overwhelming power keeps her in check. For now. An hour passes, and the spiders have already amassed a small pile of gold and other valuable minerals. Nasara inspects their work, her crimson eyes narrowing as she calculates how much more they'll need to satisfy Alex's demands. But just as she's about to give new orders, she feels a faint disturbance in the air. Then, suddenly, the near-invisible thread Nasara had placed at the cave's entrance vibrates faintly, signaling an intruder. Her eyes narrow, and she straightens her posture, brushing dust off her chitinous arms. That must be the soldiers he mentioned, she murmurs, her voice low. Let's see what kind of fools he's sent to guard me. Confident in her own strength, Nasara strides toward the entrance, her 8 legs moving with fluid grace. She prepares to greet the newcomers with the same arrogance she once wielded as the ruler of these caves. But as she rounds the corner and sees the figures standing at the entrance, her smirk fades, replaced by a deep, sinking feeling. 3 soldiers stand before her, each radiating an aura of power that makes her chitinous skin crawl. On the left is a kobold, its reptilian eyes gleaming with cunning and its lithe body coiled like a spring. On the right is a gnoll, its hulking frame bristling with muscle and its jagged teeth bared in a predatory grin. But it's the figure in the center that sends a shiver down Nasara's spine. A towering troglodyte, its scaly skin glistening with an unnatural sheen and its cold gaze fixed on her. Its scales shimmer faintly in the dim light, and its piercing yellow eyes seem to see straight through her. It wears armor that looks both ancient and deadly, and the aura it radiates is suffocating. A chilling reminder of the dread she felt when she first faced Alex. For a moment Nasara can't speak. The weight of the troglodyte's presence presses down on her, and the confidence she had earlier crumbles. Even being referred to as a mere minor doesn't ignite her usual prideful anger. Instead, she bows her head slightly, her voice steady but submissive. Yes, I am. I've already mined some gold and other resources for him. The troglodyte steps forward, its piercing gaze locking onto Nasara. What about this? It says in a gravelly voice, gesturing to the pile of minerals behind her. You deliver this to the city yourself. His Majesty wishes to see you. Nasara blinks, startled. She hadn't expected such a request, and her mandibles twitch nervously. A question rises in her throat, but she quickly swallows it, wary of offending the intimidating creature before her. Noticing her hesitation, the troglodyte adds, It's simple. Follow the markings on the trees outside. They'll lead you directly to the city. You won't get lost. Understood. I'll leave immediately. The troglodyte nods curtly. Good. Don't waste time. His Majesty doesn't like delays. Nasara gives a shallow bow, her voice quiet but steady. I won't. Without further words, she turns and begins to organize the minerals, instructing her spider minions to bundle them efficiently. As she prepares to leave, her eyes flick briefly to the troglodyte and its companions. The gnoll smirks at her, while the kobold simply watches with sharp eyes. As soon as she's ready, Nasara gathers the minerals into a web silk pack on her back and heads toward the cave's exit. Nasara tightens her grip on the silk threads holding her pack in place. Her 8 legs carry her swiftly across the forest floor, her eyes scanning the trees for the markings the troglodyte mentioned. Each symbol is carved deep into the bark, guiding her like a silent compass. While walking, Nasara's mind is a whirlwind of thoughts. "Who is he?" she murmurs, her voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. "How can he command creatures like those 3? That troglodyte alone." It felt like facing him all over again. Her claws flex instinctively as she recalls the suffocating aura of the soldiers, each one as formidable as her, if not more so. The forest grows denser as she follows the markings, her unease deepening with every step. It doesn't take long before she reaches a clearing, and her legs falter. Nasara's eyes widen, and for a moment, she can't move. Before her stands a city, but it's unlike anything she had imagined. She expected a fledgling settlement, a hastily constructed fortress at best. Instead, towering walls rise before her, their sheer size and craftsmanship radiating an ancient, almost divine majesty. The stone gleams faintly in the sunlight, etched with intricate carvings that seem to tell stories of a civilization long past. "The wall alone," Nasara whispers, her voice trembling. "This city, it's as if it's been here for 100,000 years." Chapter 22, Meeting the Real King. A voice booms from above, startling her out of her reverie. "Who are you?" Nasara's eyes snap upward, and her breath catches. A guard stands atop the wall, clad in gleaming armor that exudes power. Even from this distance, she can feel his strength, a presence equal to her own. "Even the guards," she mutters, disbelief lacing her voice. "They're as strong as me." Swallowing her pride, Nasara straightens herself, raising her voice to be heard. "I am here by the order of His Majesty," she calls out, her tone firm but respectful. "I've come to deliver these minerals." There's a moment of silence, the guard scrutinizing her from his lofty perch. Then, with a low groan, a smaller gate embedded within the towering wall creaks open, revealing a narrow path leading into the city. "Enter," the guard commands, his voice devoid of warmth. Nasara hesitates, her legs rooted to the ground. The enormity of what lies ahead presses down on her, but she forces herself to move. She steps through the gate, her silk pack of minerals weighing heavily on her back. As soon as Nasara steps inside, she stops in her tracks, her eyes widening in awe. The air feels different here, charged, almost sacred. The polished streets shimmer faintly, that seems both eternal and unnatural. Grand arches and towering spires surround her, their designs intricate and otherworldly, as though crafted by divine hands. "It feels like," Nasara whispers, her voice trembling, "I've stepped onto the land of gods." She takes a cautious step forward, her claws clicking softly against the stone pavement. But as she looks around, a strange realization dawns on her. It's quiet, too quiet. The vast streets and majestic plazas, which she imagined would be bustling with powerful monsters, are eerily empty. Nasara furrows her brow, her earlier awe giving way to confusion. Why is the city empty?" she murmurs, her voice echoing in the silence. Shaking off the unease creeping into her chest, she adjusts the weight of the minerals on her back and sets her sights on the colossal castle looming in the distance. It dominates the cityscape, its spires piercing the heavens, and its gates radiating an aura of power that dwarfs everything else around it. After what feels like an eternity, Nasara finally arrives at the castle gate. 2 figures stand before it, clad in golden armor so immaculate it almost hurts to look at. Their helmets gleam under the ethereal light of the city, and the intricate patterns etched into their armor suggest both artistry and power. Nisara slows her steps, her eyes narrowing as she studies them. Unlike the guards she encountered earlier, she doesn't feel a suffocating aura emanating from these two. They're guarding the king's castle, she thinks, her mandibles twitching slightly. There's no way they're weak. If the city's normal guards are my equal, then these two. Nisara suppresses a shudder at the thought. She straightens herself and steps forward, her claws clicking softly against the stone. The guards turn their heads toward her in unison, their movements precise, almost mechanical. His Majesty is waiting for you in the throne room. One of them says, his voice deep and steady. Nisara blinks, taken aback by the lack of hostility or scrutiny. She nods stiffly. I understand, she says, trying to keep her voice steady. The second guard gestures toward the towering doors behind them. Proceed. Do not deviate from the path. For a moment Nisara hesitates. Her instincts scream at her to ask questions, to demand why the city is so empty, why its guards are so calm, why she was summoned in the first place. But the weight of the golden figure's gazes keeps her silent. Dipping her head in acknowledgement, she steps forward, her legs carrying her toward the colossal gates. As she approaches, the doors begin to open, the sound of grinding stone reverberating through the air. Beyond the gates lies a long, gilded corridor lined with towering statues. The sheer opulence of it makes her feel small, insignificant. Nisara glances back at the guards, but they've already returned to their statuesque stillness. Swallowing her unease, she steps through the gates, the path ahead illuminated by an otherworldly glow. As Nisara walks deeper into the gilded corridor, her thoughts begin to spiral. That man, he really is a king, she murmurs, her voice barely audible in the vast, echoing hall. She tightens her grip on the silk straps of her pack. I thought he was just another powerful monster pretending to be a ruler, like so many others in the forest. But this city, even its lowest guards are as strong as those so-called kings. Her mandibles twitch as a wry smile tugs at her lips. He wasn't lying when he said I'd gain more by serving him. I can't believe I'm even thinking this, but maybe this is the greatest decision I've ever made. She stops abruptly, her eyes widening in realization. Also, I didn't even ask for his name, she whispers, her voice tinged with embarrassment. Before she can dwell on it further, the sound of light footsteps draws her attention. Nisara glances up to see a figure approaching, a humanoid bunny with silver fur and long ears tied back neatly. She wears an elegant maid's uniform, tailored perfectly to her lithe form, and her eyes gleam with a mixture of warmth and authority. Welcome, the bunny maid says, her voice smooth and polite. She dips into a slight bow, her ears twitching gracefully. I am the head maid, and I've been instructed to guide you to His Majesty's throne room. Nisara blinks, momentarily taken aback by the maid's appearance and composure. Oh, thank you, she stammers, regaining her posture. The maid straightens and offers a gentle smile. Though it is a bit of a walk. Please, follow me. His Majesty doesn't like to be kept waiting. The rest of the walk is silent, save for the soft clicks of Nisara's claws against the polished floor. Chapter 23. The Five Monster Lords. Shortly after, they arrive at an immense chamber. The throne room is colossal, its ceiling stretching so high that it seems to touch the heavens. Massive, intricate pillars carved with scenes of dragons and battles line the hall, their designs glowing faintly with a magical light. At the far end, a grand throne catches Nisara's eye, a masterpiece wrought in black stone and gold, its design shaped like a dragon coiled protectively around the seat. The dragon's eyes, set with fiery red gemstones, almost seem alive, radiating an intimidating aura. Seated on the throne is Alex, his piercing gaze locked onto her, as if he's been waiting for her all along. His presence is overwhelming, and though he doesn't move, she feels the weight of his power pressing down on her. Nisara slows her steps, her earlier pride and defiance nowhere to be found. She kneels before him as soon as she is close enough, lowering her head. The resentment and arrogance she once felt toward him have been completely stripped away. In this moment, she only wants to earn his favor. "Your Majesty," she begins, her voice steady but laced with deference. She unfastens the silk pack from her back and places it before her. "This is all the minerals we mined. I offer them to you as promised." She doesn't dare call him master now. The enormity of his presence and the grandeur of his domain make her hesitate to address him with anything but the utmost formality. Alex's expression doesn't change, though his lips curl slightly at her change in tone. He leans forward slightly, resting his chin on his hand as he surveys the offering before him. He says, his voice calm but carrying an edge of amusement. "That's quite a lot, considering how little time has passed. You've exceeded my expectations, Nasara." Nasara glances up briefly, her crimson eyes flicking to his face before lowering again. I only did what you asked, Your Majesty. It is an honor to serve you." Alex studies her for a moment, his gaze sharp enough to cut through steel. He's not surprised by her shift in attitude, he expected it. The power and order of his city, along with the sheer disparity in strength, were enough to break even the most stubborn hearts. "Very well," Alex says, leaning back in his throne. Alex taps a finger on the armrest of his throne. "This is not the only reason I summoned you here," he says, his tone steady but laced with intrigue. Nasara straightens slightly, curiosity flickering in her crimson eyes. "What is it, Your Majesty?" "It will be my pleasure to be of use," she replies earnestly, her voice unwavering. Alex narrows his gaze slightly. "I've heard you mention there are other monsters like you in the forest. Tell me about them." Nasara nods, folding her claws neatly in front of her. "Yes, Your Majesty. There are 5 in total, including myself. Each of them claims a portion of the forest as their territory." Alex leans forward slightly, his interest piqued. "Oh, that's interesting," he muses. "Are they as strong as you?" Nasara hesitates, her mandibles twitching faintly as she thinks. "I only know for certain that at least 3 of them are as strong as me. But the other 2... She pauses, her brow furrowing. "I don't have much of a clue about their strength." "And what about the strongest?" Alex asks, his voice calm but probing. "Surely, you must know who stands above the rest." Nasara's expression darkens slightly, a hint of unease creeping into her voice. "There is one. His name is Tolga. He is the strongest among us, or so I've heard. But I don't know much about him." Alex raises an eyebrow. "Why not? Does he not have a territory like the others?" Nasara shakes her head. "No, Your Majesty. Unlike the rest of us, who have subordinates and fixed territories, Tolga's location is always unknown. He moves through the forest like a shadow, and no one dares to challenge him." Alex leans back in his throne, he raises his right hand into the air. A faint shimmer ripples through the space above his palm, and a small rift opens, glowing with an eerie, otherworldly light. From it, he pulls out a rolled map and an elegant pen. "I want you to mark the locations of these monsters," he says. He unfurls the map, revealing a detailed layout of the forest. He tosses it toward Nasara, and it lands lightly on the ground in front of her. Nasara's eyes widen as she watches the rift vanish as quickly as it appeared. Her gaze flickers to the map and pen now lying before her, then back to Alex. She doesn't dare ask how he did it, though the question burns in her mind. Instead, she swallows her surprise and nods. "Of course, Your Majesty," she says, her voice steady despite her curiosity. Carefully, she picks up the map and the pen, unrolling the parchment to reveal its intricate details. The forest is laid out with precision, every river, clearing, and dense thicket marked. "This is my territory," she begins, drawing a small circle with the pen. To the northwest, near the cliffs, is another monster's domain. His name is Dargan. He's as strong as me and commands a swarm of rock monster. She marks the spot, then moves her finger slightly east. Here, in the marshlands, is Veltha. She's a water serpent and controls the creatures of the swamp. She's strong, but I believe I could match her if needed. Alex watches her closely, his expression unreadable as she continues. To the south, in the Ash Plains, is Groth. He's good at fire magic, unpredictable and aggressive. I've clashed with him before. He's slightly stronger than me. Her claw tracing the map to the eastern forest. And here, this is where Thurn resides. He's a venomous beast, spider-like in appearance, and his webbing stretches across the dense trees. He's cunning, and his strength is much stronger than mine, and he relies more on ambush tactics. Chapter 24, Grix. She moves her hand toward the center of the forest. Now about Tolga. Nasara's voice lowers slightly. This is where it gets difficult. I've heard rumors he roams around here, but no one knows for sure. He doesn't stay in one place for long, and anyone who tries to track him either vanishes or comes back empty-handed. Nasara circles a broad area in the center of the map. This is the best I can do for him. He's like a ghost in the forest. Nasara takes a deep breath as she finishes marking the locations, her claw hovering over the map. She looks up at Alex and hands the map back to him carefully. "Here, Your Majesty," she says. "This is all I know." Alex takes the map, his crimson eyes scanning it briefly before rolling it up. He leans back in his throne, a thoughtful expression crossing his face. Nasara ventures hesitantly, her voice quieter now. "Are you planning something?" Alex glances at her, a faint smirk tugging at his lips. "I am. If I want to make this forest mine, I need every creature in it to submit to me, voluntarily or otherwise." Nasara blinks, her eyes widening slightly. "You plan to conquer the entire forest?" "Yes," Alex replies smoothly. "We'll start with the strongest. Once they fall, the others will have no choice but to yield." Nasara nods slowly, her mind racing as she imagines the scale of his plans. The thought of him subjugating monsters as strong as Tolga seems both daunting and inevitable. Alex studies her for a moment, then leans forward slightly, his tone shifting to something more casual. "What about you? Have you considered living here in the city instead of that cave?" Nasara's crimson eyes widen in surprise. "What? Really? I could live here." "Yes," Alex says with a faint smile. "There are plenty of houses here, as you've no doubt noticed. You can choose any unclaimed one in the city." Nasara's gaze flickers with excitement, though she quickly tamps it down. She had seen the empty houses, especially the ones near the palace, with their grand designs and prime locations. Her mandibles twitch slightly as she tries to contain her enthusiasm. Alex notices her reaction immediately. "But," he adds, raising a finger, "the properties in Valyrian Heights, the noble district, are off limits. They already have owners." Nasara's excitement dims slightly, but she nods quickly. "I understand, Your Majesty. Anywhere else is more than generous." "Good," Alex says, leaning back again. "You can make your choice today if you wish." After Nasara leaves, Alex sits on his throne, unrolling the map she marked. His crimson eyes narrow as they settle on the territory of Thurn. The spider-like monster's domain sprawls across the dense eastern forest, marked by webbed paths and venomous traps. "This guy is the second strongest of them," Alex murmurs to himself, his voice low but decisive. "So, I'll start with him." He rolls the map back up. "Tomorrow, then." The next day, Alex steps into his flying carriage, its sleek black frame gleaming faintly with magical energy. His trusted lizardman royal guard is already waiting inside, standing stiffly at attention. The carriage lifts off smoothly, the city falling away below them as it glides through the sky. Alex settles into his seat, gazing out at the vast expanse of forest stretching toward the horizon. After a moment of silence, he turns to the lizard man. "What is your name?" Alex asks. The lizard man stiffens, his golden eyes widening slightly. For a moment he seems unsure if he heard correctly. "Am my name Your Majesty?" "Yes," Alex replies, his tone firm but not unkind. "You've served me well. I'd like to know who I'm addressing." The lizardman's chest swells with pride. Being asked his name by the king himself feels like the greatest honor. He bows his head slightly, his gravelly voice steady despite his excitement. Your Majesty, my name is Grix. It is an honor to serve you. Alex nods. Grix, a strong name. You've proven yourself reliable. Let's see if you can continue to meet my expectations today. Yes, Your Majesty, Grix replies, his voice filled with determination. I will not fail you. Alex leans back in his seat, a faint smile playing at the corners of his lips. Good. We'll need your strength where we're going. The carriage soars over the trees, the dense eastern forest coming into view. The towering canopy stretches endlessly, its dark green depths hinting at the dangers lurking within. Alex's eyes flicker with anticipation as the carriage begins its descent. Prepare yourself, Grix, Alex says, his tone calm. We're entering Thurn's territory. Shortly after, Alex orders Grix to land the carriage. The flying vehicle descends gracefully into the heart of Thurn's domain, where the air grows thick with a faintly shimmering green miasma. As the carriage touches the forest floor, the surrounding area reveals itself just as Nisara had described. Dense trees covered in thick, glistening webs stretching from branch to branch. The ground is hidden beneath a layer of sticky threads, and faint clicking noises echo in the distance. Alex steps out of the carriage, his crimson eyes surveying the area. The poisonous miasma hangs heavily, but he feels no effect thanks to the divine ring on his finger. Its subtle glow protects him from any toxin. He glances at Grix, who follows close behind, showing no signs of discomfort. Alex narrows his eyes slightly, his mind calculating. So, Alex says, his voice breaking the silence, this miasma doesn't affect you. Grix looks at him, his golden eyes sharp. No, Your Majesty. I feel nothing. Alex smirks faintly. That's good to know. Your resistance confirms something for me. Grix tilts his head slightly, curious. What is that, Your Majesty? This gas, Alex says, gesturing to the faint green fog surrounding them, is potent enough to weaken lesser beings. If it doesn't faze you, then Thurn's strength is likely around level 280 or higher. Poison this concentrated wouldn't even register to someone like you unless it came from a significant threat. Chapter 25, Tier 5 Skills. As Alex and Grix tread further into the webbed territory, a faint sound echoes through the dense forest, clicking and skittering, growing louder with each passing second. Something's coming, Alex says calmly, his crimson eyes darting in the direction of the noise. Moments later, a group of spider-like monsters emerges from the shadows, their glossy exoskeletons reflecting the dim green glow of the miasma. Their multiple eyes gleam with malice as they crawl closer, hissing and clicking in a symphony of aggression. Alex doesn't move, his expression remaining impassive. He gestures slightly toward Grix. Take care of them. Yes, Your Majesty. Grix says with a sharp nod, drawing his massive, curved blade. Though the enemies are clearly weaker than him, his movements are deliberate and exaggerated, as if putting on a show. With one powerful swing, Grix's blade cleaves through nearly half of the group in a single stroke. The force of his attack sends a gust of wind rippling through the miasma, scattering the lifeless spider monsters to the ground. He spins the blade in his claws, striking a dramatic pose before finishing off the rest of the group with equally flamboyant moves. When the last monster falls, Grix turns to Alex, his chest puffed with pride. All enemies neutralized, Your Majesty. Alex's expression a mix of amusement and exasperation. Hey, don't overdo it, he says, his tone sharp but laced with a faint smirk. We don't want Thurn fleeing in fear before we even get to him. Grix straightens, a hint of embarrassment flashing across his reptilian features. Understood, Your Majesty. I'll be more efficient next time. High above in the canopy of a massive, ancient tree, a colossal arachne male rests against the trunk, his long legs sprawled lazily. Thurn's dark carapace gleams faintly under the filtered light of the miasma. His 8 crimson eyes are shut, but the vibrations traveling up the web strands connecting the forest alert him. He stirs, his mandibles clicking faintly as he opens his eyes, each one scanning the threads stretched across his territory. That's a surprise, Thurn mutters, his deep, resonant voice carrying a faint undertone of irritation. The intruder this time killed my first line of defense so easily. Who could it be? He stretches his long, spindly legs, cracking his joints as he considers. Did one of the monster kings decide to invade me? Unlikely. The plan is about to begin. They wouldn't dare risk it now. Thurn narrows his eyes, the flicker of irritation giving way to curiosity. He clicks his mandibles and gestures toward a smaller arachne skittering nearby. You, Thurn orders, his tone commanding. Go and see who's causing havoc in my territory. Report back immediately. Do not engage them. The smaller arachne bows its head low, its multiple eyes reflecting fear and respect. Yes, Lord Thurn. I will return with news. Make haste, Thurn says, his voice growing colder. The smaller arachne scurries down the tree with practiced ease, disappearing into the dense webbing below. Thurn leans back against the trunk once more. Interesting, he mutters to himself, his lips curling into a faint smirk. Let's see who's bold enough to trespass into my domain. Alex and Grix walk deeper into Thurn's territory, the thick webbing covering the trees and ground becoming more oppressive. The sticky strands glisten faintly in the miasma, reflecting an eerie green light. Alex raises his hand, casting a low-tier fireball. The small orb of flame shoots forward, igniting a cluster of webs and clearing a narrow path ahead. This guy's territory is kind of annoying, Alex mutters, flicking another fireball at a particularly dense web strung between two massive trees. The flame burns it away, leaving behind smoldering ashes. Grix watches his king, his eyes gleaming with determination. Your Majesty, he says, stepping forward. Do you want me to clear a path for you? Alex pauses mid-gesture and turns to look at Grix. The lizardman's expression is serious, his massive blade resting on his shoulder, ready to swing. Alex sighs, rubbing his temple. I already told you, Alex says, his tone a mix of exasperation and amusement. That's the last thing we want to do. Scare Thurn away before we even see him. Grix straightens, clearly disappointed but nods. Understood, Your Majesty. He steps back, lowering his weapon. Alex shakes his head and continues clearing webs with small fireballs and thought. Honestly, a level 500 could just wipe this entire area clean in one tier 5 skill. But no, we have to do this the hard way. Alex glances back at Grix, who seems to be itching to use his full strength. There's a reason level 500 is a benchmark in the world. The leap in strength is monumental. Alex thinks back to the mechanics of the game, the rules that governed his rise to power. Level 500 isn't just a number. It's a transformation. At that level, flying becomes second nature, and tier 5 skills, rare and devastating abilities become accessible. In the game, most level 500 NPCs only have 1 or 2 tier 5 skills at best. Tier 5 skills aren't something you can just buy in the NPC shop. They're treasures, found in dungeons, and only if luck is on your side. But Alex's royal guards are an exception. Each of them has 3 to 4 tier 5 skills, a testament to his kingdom's power. Your Majesty, Grix says after a moment, his voice breaking Alex's thoughts. If we encounter Thurn, shall I hold back, or do you wish for me to test his strength? Alex smirks faintly, his crimson eyes glinting in the dim light of the miasma. Test him, he says, his tone calm but commanding. But don't kill him. We need him alive. Grix nods sharply, his grip tightening on his blade. Understood, Your Majesty. Just as they continue through the thickening webbing, Grix suddenly halts. His nostrils flare, and his golden eyes narrow. I sense a stealth creature nearby, Your Majesty. Alex's gaze flicks to the surrounding shadows, his senses sharpening. I know. Go and catch it. Chapter 26. Grix vs. Thurn. Without hesitation, Grix vanishes, his massive frame disappearing into the shadows with a speed that defies his size. The The silence lasts only a second before he reappears in front of Alex, his clawed hand gripping the struggling form of a smaller arachne monster. The creature hisses and writhes, its multiple legs flailing as it tries in vain to free itself from Grix's iron grip. Its glossy black exoskeleton gleams faintly in the miasma's eerie glow, and its 8 crimson eyes dart frantically between Alex and Grix. "I found our stealthy friend," Grix says, holding the arachne up like a trophy. "It was hiding in the canopy, trying to stay out of sight." Alex steps closer, his crimson eyes locking onto the creature's frantic gaze. "You're one of Thurn's scouts, aren't you?" His voice is calm, but there's a dangerous edge to it. "Tell me, what did he send you to do?" The arachne freezes for a moment, then hisses defiantly. "I will not betray my lord." Alex sighs, shaking his head. "Grix, make it clear we're not playing games." Grix smirks and tightens his grip just slightly, the sound of chitin creaking under pressure filling the air. The arachne lets out a choked screech, its defiance quickly turning to panic. I was sent to observe," it stammers. "Lord Thurn ordered me to see who was intruding in his territory. That's all, I swear." Alex raises an eyebrow. "And what were you planning to report?" The arachne hesitates, then spills its words in a rush. "2 intruders, very powerful. I was going to tell him everything I saw." Alex hums thoughtfully, then looks at Grix. "Good catch." Grix grins. "Shall I dispose of it, Your Majesty?" "No," Alex says. Alex continues. "Lead us to the lair of Thurn." The arachne hesitates, its eyes darting between Alex and Grix before it nods frantically. "Why yes, I will take you there." "Good," Alex says, gesturing for it to move forward. "Start walking." The arachne scuttles ahead, weaving through the dense webbing with practiced ease. Grix follows closely, his massive blade resting on his shoulder as he keeps a watchful eye on the creature. Alex walks behind them, his steps calm and deliberate, his mind already piecing together the next steps. After some time, the 3 arrive at a large clearing dominated by an enormous cocoon-shaped structure. The webbed fortress looms high, its silken walls glistening faintly under the dim, sickly green glow of the miasma. The entire area is eerily silent, with no sign of movement or life. Alex stops, his sharp gaze scanning the lair. "Too quiet," he mutters under his breath. Just as he turns to question the arachne, the creature lets out a shrill screech. "Poison bomb." Grix growls, tossing the remains of the creature aside as the smoke envelopes them. His eyes gleam as he raises his blade, the edge glinting faintly in the dim light. Cheap trick. A shadow moves within the smoke, fast and deliberate. Without warning, Thurn lunges out of the haze, his massive form striking with the speed of a predator. His long, spindly legs aim for Alex in a vicious, stabbing motion. Before the attack can land, Grix steps between them, his blade slamming against Thurn's legs with a deafening clang. The force of the clash sends ripples through the smoke, momentarily parting it. "Not even a hello?" Alex says, his voice calm but dripping with sarcasm as he watches from behind Grix. Thurn clicks his mandibles, retreating a few steps as the smoke begins to clear. His 8 crimson eyes lock onto Alex, glowing with malice. "You dare invade my domain and demand courtesy?" he hisses, his voice a deep, resonant snarl. Grix bares his teeth, his tail flicking with irritation. "How dare an insect speak so presumptuously to his majesty?" he growls, his grip tightening on his sword. Before Alex can respond, Grix swings his massive blade in a wide arc. This time, the swing carries a little more force, fueled by his anger. The sheer power of the strike sends a shockwave rippling through the air, catching Thurn squarely and hurling him backward like a bolt of lightning. Thurn crashes into the side of his webbed fortress with a sickening crack, the impact sending tremors through the entire structure. He slumps to the ground momentarily, his legs splayed awkwardly, before shakily rising again. His crimson eyes blaze with fury, venom dripping from his mandibles as he hisses in rage. Grix scratches the back of his head, his expression suddenly sheepish as he looks back at Alex. Sorry, Your Majesty. I lost control of my anger. Alex sighs, pinching the bridge of his nose as he steps forward. That's all right. He's not dead, Alex says, his tone calm but tinged with amusement. But you've definitely pissed him off. Thurn lets out a guttural snarl, his massive form shaking with rage. He slams his front legs into the ground, cracking the earth beneath him. You dare strike me with such insolence? He roars, his voice echoing through the clearing. I will make you suffer for this. Thurn lunges forward again, this time with unrestrained fury, his movements wild and erratic. His long legs stab and slash at the air as he barrels toward Grix and Alex, the venom on his fangs glinting ominously. Grix steps forward with a wide grin, his massive blade rising to meet Thurn's charge. The sound of steel clashing against chitin reverberates through the clearing as Grix expertly parries the wild strikes. In the middle of the fray, Alex's voice echoes in Grix's mind, calm yet firm. Grix, I will remind you again, do not kill him. We need him alive. Grix responds telepathically, his tone tinged with annoyance but obedient. Understood, Your Majesty. I'll keep it to Tier 2 skills. Thurn snarls, his legs striking with rapid precision, but Grix sidesteps each blow effortlessly. With a deliberate move, Grix counters, his blade glowing faintly as he activates a Tier 2 skill. Cleave Strike. The controlled attack sends a precise wave of force slicing through the air, slamming into Thurn's side and forcing him to stumble back, but leaving no fatal wounds. Chapter 27. Tier 5 Skill in Action. Thurn screeches in frustration, his massive body shaking as he tries to regain his footing. Is that all you've got? Grix taunts, twirling his blade lazily. Thurn's 8 crimson eyes narrow, venom dripping from his fangs as he lunges again, this time with more focus. Grix blocks easily, deflecting the blows without breaking a sweat. He steps forward, spinning his blade in a controlled arc, activating Blade Rush, a quick, non-lethal skill that sends a flurry of strikes toward Thurn's legs. The blows connect, forcing Thurn to retreat further, his movements becoming more sluggish. Still think you can make me suffer? Grix smirks, his voice dripping with mockery. Thurn's mandibles clatter angrily as he glares at Grix. You're holding back, he hisses, his voice filled with venomous fury. Why? Do you mock me? Grix chuckles darkly. Mock you? You're not worth my full power, bug. Be grateful I'm sparing you. Grix nods slightly, dodging another of Thurn's lunges with ease. Your Majesty wants you alive, he says aloud, his tone mocking. But don't worry, this is still fun for me. Thurn lets out a guttural roar, his form shaking with barely contained rage. His movements grow more erratic, his strikes less coordinated as he begins to succumb to exhaustion. Grix, still using only Tier 2 skills, easily counters each attack, wearing him down bit by bit. Thurn snarls, his mandibles clashing together as venom drips to the ground, hissing upon impact. Don't underestimate me, he roars, his body trembling with anger. Without warning, his 8 legs stab into the ground, and his body glows faintly green. Venom spikes, he bellows. Spikes of hardened venom erupt from the ground, aiming directly for Grix. Each spike glistens with deadly poison, their tips razor-sharp. Grix doesn't flinch. Instead, he steps aside with casual grace, dodging the onslaught with precise, fluid movements. His golden eyes gleam with amusement as he sidesteps each spike effortlessly, his blade never once leaving his shoulder. Use all your skills now before it's too late? Grix taunts, his smirk widening. Thurn growls, his crimson eyes narrowing. He rears back, his mandibles opening wide as a green mist begins to swirl around him. Venom Cloud! He hisses, unleashing a toxic fog that spreads rapidly, filling the air with a deadly miasma. The cloud engulfs Grix, but the towering warrior simply stands still, his tail swaying lazily behind him. The mist seems to swirl around him without effect, as if repelled by his sheer presence. You really think poison will work on me? Grix chuckles, his voice carrying through the fog. You'll have to do better than that, Bug. Thurn clicks his mandibles angrily, his legs stabbing at the ground in frustration. Stop mocking me, he roars. His body shudders as he activates his final skill. Venom chains. Thick, glowing green tendrils of venom shoot out from his body, snaking toward Grix with incredible speed. The chains whip through the air, aiming to bind Grix and dissolve his defenses. Grix finally moves. With a single step, he pivots, twisting his body just enough to let the chains miss their mark. He swings his blade lazily, cutting through the venom chains as though they're made of air. The remains of the chains dissolve into harmless droplets, sizzling against the ground. Thurn stumbles back, his breath ragged, venom pooling beneath his trembling legs. His crimson eyes dart toward Grix, filled with desperation and fury. Grix smirks, rolling his shoulders as though warming up. Face it, Thurn, Grix says, his voice dripping with disdain. You're out of tricks. From behind, Alex observes in silence, his crimson eyes thoughtful. Thurn's desperation is exactly what he wanted. Breaking his spirit now would make him easier to control later. Through telepathy, Alex's calm voice echoes in Grix's mind. End it, Grix. Use a Tier 5 skill. Make sure it doesn't kill him, but scare the soul out of him. Grix's smirk fades, replaced by a sharp grin that radiates menace. Understood, Your Majesty, he replies telepathically, his voice tinged with excitement. Grix steps forward, his massive blade glowing ominously as he lifts it high. A low hum fills the air, the ground trembling under the sheer pressure of his energy. The trees surrounding them begin to sway violently as the atmosphere grows heavy. Thurn's eyes widen in fear, his mandibles clattering. What are you doing? He stammers, his voice trembling. You wanted my full power, Grix says, his voice low and menacing. Here it is. With a deafening roar, Grix activates his Tier 5 skill, Oblivion Cleave. He swings his blade downward in a devastating arc, unleashing an enormous wave of energy. The ground shatters beneath the force, a blinding light exploding outward as the wave cuts through the air. The impact is catastrophic. The surrounding forest disintegrates into nothingness, trees reduce to ash and dust as the energy tears through the landscape. A shockwave ripples outward, uprooting anything that dares stand in its path. When the light fades, the battlefield is unrecognizable. The forest is gone, replaced by a barren wasteland of scorched earth and debris. Thurn lies on the ground, his legs sprawled awkwardly as he trembles. His exoskeleton is cracked in places, venom oozing from his wounds. Despite his injuries, he is still alive, barely. Grix lowers his blade, his golden eyes glowing faintly as he exhales slowly. He turns to Alex, a satisfied grin on his face. Didn't aim for him, Your Majesty. He's alive, just like you wanted. Alex steps forward, his gaze fixed on Thurn. The once proud Arachne Lord is now a trembling, broken figure, his crimson eyes filled with terror. Still think you can challenge us? Alex asks, his voice calm but cold. Thurn struggles to speak, his voice barely above a whisper. How are you this strong? Alex crouches beside him, his crimson eyes locking onto Thurn's. This was just a fraction of our power, he says softly, his tone laced with menace. Now, do you understand why resistance is pointless? Thurn shudders, his mandibles twitching. I yield. Please, help me, he whispers, his voice filled with despair. Chapter 28, Veltha. Alex tilts his head slightly, pretending not to hear. His crimson eyes gleam with amusement as he leans in just a little closer. What was that? He asks, his tone smooth and mocking. I can't hear you. Thurn's broken body trembles, his wounds searing with pain. Every breath feels like fire in his lungs, his limbs barely responding. But he knows this is his only chance. If he hesitates, he will die. With all the strength he can muster, He forces his mandibles to move. His voice is weak, pitiful, but the words escape. "Please, save me," he begs, his pride shattered. Alex watches him for a moment, expression unreadable. Then, slowly, his lips curl into a smile. Cold, knowing, victorious. "Should have said that earlier," he muses, standing up. "You're about to die." Thurn lets out a faint, choked noise, too weak to protest. Without breaking eye contact, Alex reaches into his inventory with a flick of his fingers. A faint shimmer appears in his palm as a medium-grade healing potion materializes. The glass vial is filled with a swirling, golden liquid, radiating a faint warmth. He kneels once more, lifting Thurn's head slightly with one hand. "Lucky for you," Alex murmurs, bringing the vial to his lips. "I don't let useful things die so easily." He tilts the potion forward, forcing Thurn to drink. The liquid glides down his throat, and almost instantly, the wounds across his body begin to mend. Cracked exoskeleton sealing, torn muscles repairing. A deep, shuddering breath escapes Thurn as relief washes over him. Thurn lies still for a moment, his breathing ragged but steady. The pain that once racked his body is gone, replaced by a lingering exhaustion. He flexes his limbs, testing his strength, and to his astonishment, he finds himself fully restored. Alex stands over him, arms crossed, watching with quiet amusement as Thurn realizes the extent of his recovery. The crimson-eyed ruler tilts his head slightly, then speaks, his voice smooth but carrying an undeniable weight. "Now that you are healed," Alex says, his gaze piercing, "I will ask you a question." Thurn stiffens, his 8 crimson eyes locking onto Alex with caution. "Are you going to bow down to me?" A heavy silence hangs in the air. The question is simple, yet the weight behind it is suffocating. Thurn knows that his answer will determine his fate. His pride as a lord screams at him to refuse, but the memory of that overwhelming power, the effortless destruction, the sheer gap between them, claws at his resolve. His mandibles twitch, hesitation clear in his posture. His mind races, searching for any option that does not end in his death or servitude. But deep down, he already knows the truth. There is no escape. Alex watches him, unbothered, as if he already knows the answer. Thurn swallows hard, his voice low but clear. "Do I have a choice?" Alex's lips curl into an amused smirk. His eyes gleam as he leans slightly forward, his voice smooth and calm. "Of course you have a choice," he says. "As long as you're prepared to die." Thurn flinches. His legs tremble beneath him, his exoskeleton still aching despite the healing. He glances at Grix, whose eyes remain indifferent. A deep shudder runs through Thurn's body. His pride has already been shattered. His strength means nothing before Grix's overwhelming power. He knows resisting would only lead to a swift and merciless end. Slowly, painfully, he lowers his body to the ground. His 8 legs fold beneath him as he kneels, his mandibles clicking softly. "I, Thurn, Lord of the Arachne," he declares, voice strained but steady, "swear my loyalty to you. From this day forth, my fangs and my brood are yours to command." Alex watches him for a moment, then nods, satisfied. "Good," he says simply. Thurn remains kneeling, his pride a distant memory. The weight of his oath settles over him like chains, yet he dares not resist. After a brief pause, Alex steps forward, placing a hand on Thurn's head. There's no warmth in the gesture, only the undeniable weight of ownership. "Now," Alex says, his tone casual, "tell me who we should visit next." Thurn hesitates for only a moment before responding. "Your Majesty, what about Veltha?" At this, Alex raises an eyebrow. "The water serpent?" Thurn clarifies. "She rules the marshlands and commands the creatures of the swamp. She will not submit easily." Alex hums in thought. He doesn't particularly care about the order in which he subjugates the monster lords. He will visit them all in time. "Then let's go to Veltha," he decides. Shortly after, They arrive in Veltha's domain, the marshlands. The air is thick with mist, the scent of damp earth and stagnant water clinging to every breath. Towering trees loom overhead, their twisted roots disappearing beneath the murky swamp. The water is dark, hiding whatever lurks beneath its surface. Yet, despite the eerie silence, not a single creature attacks. Alex walks forward calmly, his crimson eyes scanning the area. Shadows shift within the trees, glowing eyes peering from beneath the water's surface. But none dare move against them. Oh, they are not attacking. Grix muses, his tail flicking lazily behind him. Thurn nods, his voice low. None of these beasts will attack as long as I am with you. The monster lords know each other. Veltha and we've fought before. Alex raises an eyebrow. And? Thurn hesitates before responding. I win, he admits. But she's cunning and strong. Even if she knows she can't win, she won't surrender easily. Alex smirks, unconcerned. Then we'll make her. A ripple disturbs the water beside them. A massive shape slithers just beneath the surface, barely visible in the dim light. The swamp falls deathly silent. Then, a voice, smooth, cold, and echoing, rises from the mist. The voice hisses, dripping with venomous disdain. Thurn, why are you here again? Didn't the meeting get scheduled for next month? The water churns as the massive serpent shifts beneath the surface. Or, are you here to humiliate me again? Her tone darkens, the glow of her eyes narrowing dangerously. This time you might not leave this place in one piece. Chapter 29, Making the Four Lords His Subject. A colossal serpent, her iridescent blue-green scales shimmer like liquid as she rises above them. Her body coils effortlessly, massive yet elegant, her golden eyes glowing with quiet menace. A frilled crest fans out from her head, water dripping from it as she regards them with amusement. Thurn exhales, exasperated but cautious. He knows Veltha well, her pride is as deep as the swamp itself. He raises his arms slightly, a gesture of peace. Relax, Veltha. I'm not here to fight you, he says, his mandibles clicking lightly. I came to introduce you to my new master, His Majesty Alex. For a moment there is silence. Then, Veltha's laughter echoes through the swamp, low and taunting. No way, she scoffs. You? Bowing to another monster. Her coils shift, sending ripples across the murky water. Is this your new way of toying with me, Thurn? She snaps, her voice laced with anger. You think this is funny? Thurn sighs, turning to Alex. Your Majesty, I told you. She's very stubborn. His tone is resigned, but there's a flicker of something else. Amusement, perhaps. Then he adds, what about making her suffer a little? Just don't overdo it. Alex doesn't respond immediately. Instead, he turns his gaze to Grix. The lizard man grins, sharp teeth glinting in the dim light. Grix steps forward without hesitation, rolling his shoulders as his muscles tense. There's no drawn-out exchange, no taunting words, just action. In the blink of an eye, his aura flares violently, distorting the air around him. The swamp trembles under the sudden surge of mana. Then he vanishes. A split second later, a deafening explosion erupts. The murky waters part violently as a shockwave tears through the marsh. The towering trees shatter like brittle twigs, their trunks sent flying. The creatures of the swamp screech in terror and scatter into the depths, their instincts screaming at them to flee. Veltha barely has time to react before the full force of a Grix's fist crashes into her. A massive, clawed fist slams into her coiled body, the impact sending her colossal form hurtling through the swamp. Her scales, tough enough to withstand the strongest of attacks, crack under the sheer force. The serpent shrieks as her body crashes through the landscape, uprooting everything in her path. She writhes, twisting to counterattack, but Grix is relentless. He appears above her in a blur, his claws crackling with raw energy. Another impact. The ground erupts. Water, debris, and remnants of Veltha's ruined domain rain down in every direction. Within moments, it's over. The once great marshland is unrecognizable, a battlefield of destruction. The trees are gone, the swamp reduced to a gaping crater. The water has been blasted away, leaving only broken earth behind. And at the center of it all, Veltha kneels. Her massive body is battered, coils trembling uncontrollably. Blood seeps from deep gashes along her scales, her crest shattered. She gasps for breath, golden eyes wide with something she has never felt before. True fear. Her gaze flickers to Grix. The lizard man merely cracks his neck, looking entirely unbothered, as if he hadn't just leveled an entire region. Veltha's breath hitches. Slowly, painfully, she shifts her gaze to Alex. The crimson-eyed ruler stands before her, expression unreadable, his arms crossed in silent expectation. Veltha shudders, swallowing her pride. Her broken body refuses to rise, but she forces herself to lower her head further, bowing deeply before him. She rasps, her voice hoarse. I surrender. Alex watches her for a moment, then lets out a quiet hum of approval. Without a word, he flicks his fingers, and a shimmering vial appears in his hand. The golden liquid inside swirls with faint warmth, another medium-grade healing potion. He steps forward, placing it in front of Veltha. Drink, he orders, his tone calm but absolute. Veltha hesitates, her pride still resisting, but the pain racking her body is undeniable. With a quiet hiss, she lowers her head and laps up the potion. Almost immediately, the wounds across her massive body begin to mend. The deep gashes close, her cracked scales repairing themselves. Strength slowly returns to her limbs. She exhales, lowering her head further in submission. Without wasting any more time, Alex turns, his eyes flickering with cold amusement. Next, we move to Groth, he announces. Thurn and Veltha exchange wary glances. The air here is thick with heat, the sky hazy with rising embers. Blackened earth stretches for miles, rivers of molten lava snaking through jagged terrain. In the distance, a fortress of obsidian looms, its spires glowing faintly with the pulsing heat of the land itself. At the heart of the ash plains, atop a cracked plateau surrounded by flowing lava, stands Groth, his hunched form draped in layers of soot-stained robes. His gnarled staff, carved from obsidian, pulses with embers of dormant fire magic. Though his body is frail, his eyes burn with wisdom and raw power. As Alex and his entourage approach, Groth's gaze flickers from Thurn to Veltha, both once proud lords now standing subdued beside their new ruler. The mighty Arachne lord, silent and obedient. The water serpent, eyes downcast. For a long moment Groth says nothing. Then, without hesitation, he kneels. I see, Groth murmurs, his voice like crackling embers. No words are needed. Thurn exhales, relieved that this time there will be no battle. Veltha, however, remains rigid, still processing how quickly Groth submitted. Alex watches him, arms crossed. His eyes flicker with interest, but also mild disappointment. That's it, he muses. No resistance? Groth chuckles, tapping his staff against the ground. The motion sends a soft ripple of heat through the air. I am old, but not foolish. If those two have bowed, then I know resistance is meaningless. His gaze sharpens. Grix chuckles under his breath, tail flicking lazily. Smart old man. Alex raises an eyebrow, his voice sharp but tinged with approval. Good. It seems you're not entirely blind, Groth. He pauses, considering the old monster's submission, his gaze thoughtful. Grix steps forward. His Majesty, Alex, wants you to take an oath. He states simply, his voice low but firm. Without a word, Groth kneels fully, his ancient body creaking under the weight of his years. I, Groth, Master of Fire, swear my loyalty to you, Alex, ruler of all that stands before you. He says, his voice deep and gravelly like distant thunder. From this day forth, my flames are yours to command. Chapter 30. The Plan to Attack Mizorn City. Alex watches him, his crimson eyes cold yet approving. Very well, he says, gesturing for Groth to rise. You will not regret this choice. Groth stands slowly, his gnarled staff pulsing with faint embers. He casts a glance at Thurn and Veltha, both silent and subdued. The sight of them, once proud and mighty, now standing as mere followers, reinforces the gravity of his decision. Then, Alex flicks his wrist, and a gleaming silver carriage appears before them. The moment it manifests, the air shifts. The carriage is unlike anything they have ever seen. Floating effortlessly, its sleek frame made of an unknown metal that hums with restrained power. Strange, intricate runes glow faintly along its surface, pulsating like a heartbeat. Groth's eyes widen, his grip tightening on his staff. This is not natural magic. He mutters, voice tinged with something rare, genuine disbelief. No spell, no construct I know of can achieve such a thing. Thurn crosses his arms, watching Groth's reaction with some amusement. I was shocked too, old man, he says. Took me a while to accept it. But His Majesty's power isn't something we can measure. Alex steps forward, placing a hand on the side of the carriage. A soft hum resonates through the air as the runes flare slightly in response to his touch. Enough gawking, he says, his voice calm but firm. Get in. Groth hesitates. I may be old, but I am not feeble-minded. He mutters, still processing the sheer impossibility of the construct. He steps forward nonetheless, his curiosity outweighing his apprehension. The journey is swift, unnaturally so. It isn't long before the horizon shifts again, this time revealing something none of them are prepared for. The city unfolds beneath them like something out of legend. Veltha's breath catches in her throat. This is not possible. Thurn leans forward, mandibles clicking in stunned silence. He struggles to comprehend what he's seeing. Wow! If someone told me this is a domain of a god, I will believe them. Groth, for the first time in centuries, is completely speechless. His fingers tremble against his staff as he gazes down at the sprawling metropolis. How could something like this exist here in the forest, without us knowing? Alex, seated comfortably, watches their reactions with mild amusement. It doesn't just exist, he says coolly. It belongs to me. As they descend toward the central plaza, the true weight of their reality sets in. The city isn't just enormous. It's filled with power. Below them, figures move with disciplined precision. The city's guards stand in formation, their armor gleaming under the strange, ambient glow of the metropolis. Each one radiates strength without a doubt, just as strong as the three former lords, if not stronger. Thurn stiffens. This can't be right, he mutters. They're as strong as us. Veltha's coils tighten, unease rippling through her massive frame. No, she corrects, her voice low. Some of them are stronger. Thorn's expression darkens. Impossible. He breathes, but deep down, he knows what he's seeing is real. These aren't ordinary soldiers. Alex steps out first, descending gracefully onto the smooth, polished ground. The moment he does, the guards all kneel, a synchronized display of absolute obedience. He turns back to the three. Welcome to my kingdom, Alex says, his crimson gaze gleaming with cold amusement. And to the new order of this world. The meeting room is vast yet minimalistic, its dark stone walls lined with faintly glowing runes. A large circular table sits at the center, its polished surface reflecting the flickering light of arcane lamps. Alex sits at the head of the table, his fingers interlocked as he surveys the four figures before him. Nosara, Thurn, Veltha, and Groth. His voice is calm, yet carries an edge of authority. I heard you had a plan, he says, his crimson gaze flicking between them. What is it? Groth, the eldest among them, leans slightly on his gnarled staff, his ember-like eyes glinting with calculation. Your Majesty, he begins, his voice rough like crackling fire. The plan is to attack Mizorn City. Alex raises an eyebrow, unimpressed. Whose plan? It's Tolga's plan, Groth admits. At the mention of the name, Alex tilts his head slightly. Tolga, he repeats as if testing the name on his tongue. Then his gaze sharpens. Does any of you know where this Tolga is? The four exchange glances.
No, Turmuters.
Before the silence drags, Nasara speaks up. But we do have a meeting scheduled next month, Your Highness, she says, her golden eyes steady. Tolga will come. Alex glances at her. Next month? He echoes. She nods. Yes. A moment passes before Alex leans back slightly. That's 4 days.